Shine with Kendall Lanice. Real talk for real people. Let's shine together.
Shine with Kendall Lanice. I am your host, Kendall Lanice. Allow me to introduce myself to you just a little bit further. I am a certified transformational life coach, speaker, and author, as well as a certified meditation practitioner and content creator. I'm so glad that you decided to join me on my life podcast. On this podcast, I will educate, elevate, and entertain you with various topics. We will do live coaching, and I will hopefully give you a different perspective on some of your favorite topics and introduce you to new ones. I'm not sure how you stumbled upon this podcast. I'm just so glad you did. Before we get started, do me a favor and subscribe to this podcast wherever you're listening and rate if you are able to. Thank you so much once again for tuning in, and now on to this week's show. Hey everybody, it's Kendall Lanice. Welcome. Thank you so much for tuning in to a new episode and a new week of Shine with Kendall Lanice. We are on episode 173. Welcome to season 8 of Shine with Kendall Lanice. I've been doing this podcast for 4 years, so I appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you so much for continuously tuning in from all around this world. It means the most to me. I don't know how you stumbled upon it, but I am glad you did. Make sure you tell a friend or family member about Shine with Kendall Lanice. I hope everyone's having a great week thus far. You know, a lot of the COVID numbers are increasing, and every time you turn around, someone is saying that they have COVID. Just make sure you all are safe out there. Stay masked up, stay prayed up out in these streets, because it's not a game. The world is opening up in a lot of different places. People are out enjoying themselves, whether they're going out to eat, going on vacation, going on dates, whatever you're doing. Just make sure you are safe doing it. Some people are saying like, oh, well, we don't have to wear the mask anymore. It's not a mandate, but you still want to have the onus to make sure you're safe and you are aware of the safety issues in many areas. I know in this area where I'm in the Baltimore area, but then also the DMV, DC, you can't go anywhere without showing your vaccination card. They are not playing any games. So hopefully wherever you are safe. All right, so I'm happy about this episode of Shine with Kendall Lanice because I have one of my favorite people as a guest this season 8. Now, you know Dr. Leroy Mckenzie Jr. If you follow me on social media or if you subscribe to my YouTube channel, you have seen him every week on our show, More Than Just a Movie, where we break down classic Black films, but also he has been a guest on a lot of the panels that I've done and a lot of shows that we've done. We've talked about relationships. We do that often, and we talk about life. He is one of my favorite people on this planet, so I'm glad to have him here. But, let me just tell you what we're going to talk about. We're going to be talking about growing through adversity. But before we get started, as always, I'm going to start with this week's Life Note. All right, it's time for this week's Life Note. All right, so this week's Life Note, if you're just tuning in for the very first time, the Life Note on my show is a quote or a saying that will carry you through the rest of the show. It'll carry you through this week or the rest of your life. So since we're talking about adversity, this comes from Joseph B. Worthland. Don't know who he is, but I love his quote. As with a butterfly, adversity is necessary to build character in people. All right, so let's just get right into it. Let's get my guest on here so we can talk about adversity. All right. Well, as I said, he is an entrepreneur. He's an author. He is a great conversationalist, and he is a doctor. He became a doctor in 2021. Mr. Doctor, Lord have mercy, that's some black stuff right there. Mr. Doctor Leroy Mckenzie Jr. Welcome to Shine with Kendall Anise. Thank you for shining with me.
Thanks for having me, lady. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, perfect.
Oh, good.
Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
You are welcome. And we were talking before the show, and I was like, wait a minute, I've been doing this podcast. You haven't been on the podcast? And I was explaining to him, like, the last couple of seasons, I didn't have any guests. It was just me doing different subjects and talking about different life coaching subjects that you guys all emailed me about. But season 8, I decided to kick it off with guests, and because I like, y'all know, if you listen, you know that I switch it up each season. So I'm so happy to have you here, Leroy. You there, Leroy?
Yeah, you're going out, so I can't.
Can you hear me?
Okay, now I can.
Oh, okay, yeah. I guess you lost you for a minute. All right, so we're talking about adversity, and when you think about adversity, what does that mean to you? And I'm going to give the definition so our listeners can hear. So it's just difficulties or misfortune. That's what dictionary.com describes as adversity. When you think about adversity, what's your definition? What comes to mind when you think about that?
Well, I think when I think of adversity, I think of obstacles. I think of overcoming. I think of just things that may distract us from getting or achieving the goals or assignments that we may have.
Yeah. And, a lot of people, especially, children, when you think about just this country and you think about just all over, really, a lot of people go through a lot of things and they still come out, shining, beat down, bent, but not broken. Have you ever had a time in your life where you went through something and you were like, you know what, I don't know what this is for, but then later on you saw that it made you, a better person, or it taught you something? Have you ever had an experience like that?
I mean, I've had a few, but the one that I guess sticks out to me the most was I was working for a hotel several years ago, and I was the assistant general manager for the property. One of my closest friends now, he was the general manager. So he and I are rocking and rolling. We're doing things, and I remember having a conversation with the district manager for our area, and I'm talking to her about me being a GM, becoming a general manager, and she says to me that as long as I am district manager, you will never be a general manager.
So she was just hating from the up above, huh? She thought she was really up above.
Absolutely. She was very racist. Mm-hmm. She didn't like myself and the general manager, because both of us were black men.
I was going to ask you that. Black
men. Yeah, and we were running that hotel like a fine oil machine. And she didn't like it, of course. And he and I knew this. And she and I had our battles. She even had told him to fire me, and he wouldn't. and didn't. Because he was like, I'm not going to do it, because he hasn't done anything. He does great work and everything else. So, but she was adamant about, trying to ensure that I did not progress, with that hotel chain. And so, eventually, not long after that, I had a conversation with my friend. I was like, dude, I'm not doing this. I'm not going to do it. And I had always wanted to be an entrepreneur anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, dude, I'm not going to be killing myself. And he and I were doing easily 65 to 75 hours each a week.
What? A week?
Yes.
Not every 2 weeks, a week.
No, not every 2 weeks, easy, a week. Yeah,
wow.
That's how much time we were putting in.
Yeah.
To this hotel, running this hotel.
That's real.
She would literally, and I lie to you guys, you can ask him, his name is David. You can ask him. We would have to, Extended Stay was the only hotel at that time, and I don't think there's anyone that still does it anymore, because they're open 24 hours now. But at that time, when this was mid-late 90s.
Mm-hmm.
So Extended Stay was just kind of starting out. It was just a brand that was establishing itself and everything. But they were the only hotel that the front desk closed at 11 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
Done.
Wow.
The only thing that was there, we would leave, I'm trying to think I don't even think we had an overnight person.
Mm-hmm.
I think we had something like that. We had one person in the laundry, I believe it was, that was the laundry. And they would have to kind of take care of any phone calls that came in overnight.
So
no night auditor, no nothing.
Wow. So you were giving...
Everything was done.
Wow.
We would finish when the front desk closed at 11 o'clock. We would close the day out.
Right.
That's the way we ran. Yeah, we would close it down. So it was usually the front office manager, myself or David, that was there closing.
Right.
We would close, and we would run all of the reports.
So wow. No, when I'm thinking about you're saying, and I think about you as an entrepreneur now, and I'm thinking about 75 hours per week that you gave to someone else. No wonder you thrive in your entrepreneurship and your businesses, because if you could give somebody 75 to 80 hours a week and work for them, and you still can't advance, you still can't get ahead, there's still racism, it makes sense to do it for yourself and build yourself up from the bottom.
And that's what I told my buddy, and I was like, dude, I'm not going to kill myself for someone else. I said, if I'm going to kill myself, I'd rather be killing myself for myself.
Right.
I said, I'm not going to do it.
Right.
I'm not giving these people, I'm not making someone else rich off of my talent, my skill set. So I've had that mentality prior to then, but even then, because I understood it. I know how corporate market works. You know how corporate market works. Yeah. They gonna milk that cow and not care anything about you.
They don't care. So the adversity. No, they don't. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So we would have to, when we closed out the day, we would have to send our work. We would have to fax it to her, so that she could have it. She'd look at the numbers and everything like that, right? I lie to you not, this woman would call us, and it happened to him, and it's happened to me. And I swear, Kendall, we were the only ones that she would do this to. Mm. She would call us.
So she was a Karen before they had names of Karen.
Yeah, exactly. She would call us no later than, let's say, 11:30, before 12 o'clock, with us closing out the day and trying to get out of there, asking us all kinds of questions about the day.
So the adversity side of it was, and I just want to be clear for our listeners, the adversity side of it and something that you had to really understand was, even if you were a hard worker, even if the rules were you work hard to succeed, you start here, you pay your dues, and then one day this will be all mine, meaning that you can manage it, you can own it, and you can, rise in the company. So the adversity for you would you say, is that even taking all the steps, going to school for, I know you went to school for, restaurant management or hotel restaurant management. So even the qualification, going to your HBCU and getting the job and doing that, the adversity side of it was what you say. Would it be that you weren't able to rise in the ranks, or someone was stopping you?
Part of it was rising in the ranks, because it's funny, because when David and I started at this hotel, this was a hotel that we opened. It was a brand new hotel. Mm-hmm. This was a hotel built. We were the man. I was the manager in training. Mm-hmm. He was he was the manager in training. I was the assistant GM, and then we had a GM when we initially opened that hotel. Mm-hmm. I'm talking while construction was going on. Mm-hmm. We were in charge of making sure all of that got done.
Mm-hmm. So right? You could be used to do all of that, and then when it's rising, you can't go further.
Right. Not just that, dealing with that aspect of it, but overcoming, racism, or dealing with racism. Yeah. Because that was part of the obstacle.
That was the crux. Yeah.
Her attitude and mindset, she wasn't going to let myself, move any further because of whatever her dislike was for me, for whatever reason. And then even also with David, because David got moved around as well too, but she wasn't going to let me go any further than what I was with running the hotel. So understanding, hey, my value and knowing who I was, what I brought to the table, those things like that. And you seeing someone not knowing, not giving you or not understanding your value that you bring, and saying, you know what, no, this person is somebody that brings a lot to the table and should be moved to, given this particular opportunity. So that's one major one.
Wow. And with adversity, and thank you for sharing that story, Leroy. See, with adversity, it should help you grow. And I like to say that we grow through things and not just go through things. If you really get the lesson in it, if you really understand and take the time to even, pray or meditate or really just reflect on what you've gone through. Now, when you're going through adversity, right, it doesn't feel that you're growing through it. You mad, you upset, you like, why am I going through this? Like, what is happening? But adversity does help us grow. And it also builds our character, and it makes us see the strength and the resilience and the power of God that we have, to get through things. And I often say, like, God must think I am built like a gorilla, because he said you can't stand, he doesn't put on more than you can bear. And I'm like, God must think that I can carry a building on my back. Like, he must be like, girl, because sometimes the adversity, but it does help build character and build strength, and really builds our greatness, or shows us how pretty dope we are. How would you say that adversity has helped you grow?
Well, it's like you were saying, it strengthened me. And it I think what adversity did for me, and what it does for others that come on the other side of it, I think it helps us to be able to understand who we are and what we can accomplish, what we are able to kind of push through. It's kind of like a weightlifter. Mm-hmm. Where they say, okay, I can lift 550 pounds. I get to 550 pounds and I begin to do it. If I don't put on there 560, 570, 580, I don't know how much further I can go until I do it. So eventually, if I put the 560 on there, or I put 5'7", put 20 more pounds on there, I go from then lifting 560 to then my body start to getting adjusted to lifting 570. Mm-hmm. And it says, hey, I can now do 570.
Mm-hmm.
Boom! I'm starting to do it. But if I never try to lift 570 and I only stay at 550,
Yeah.
I will never know that I can lift 570. It's the same thing with adversity, whether it's in our professional life, or even if it's in our personal life, whether it's relationship, whether it's family.
Yeah.
Whatever that adversity that we go through, we won't know that we can handle it.
Yeah.
Until we do actually go through it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you think about it. And I know you'll probably talk about this, going through adversity. Think about what you go through, and I'll let you tell that. Think about what you went through.
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever in your life, getting that news, think that you could go through it?
No, I thought I would be totally different. I thought I would be crying. Leroy's talking about, for those that are tuning in for the first time, I'm a colon cancer survivor as of March 2021. And it happened so fast. I didn't have any symptoms, didn't expect it, didn't know I was going to receive the news. If someone told me, the doctor would tell me I would have cancer, I thought I would be, falling out, screaming, like I had no idea. So no, I did not know. The answer is nope. I didn't think.
But look at what happened once you found out about it. He gave you the diagnosis. You went through the process that you had to go through to deal with the colon cancer. And here you are now.
Mm.
On the, as my mother said, the other side of through.
Oh, I love that. I should have quoted her. The other side of through. Now, whoo, that just gave me a chill. The other side of through.
Yeah.
What you're growing through.
Going through. The adversity is the going through. And a lot of us, many of us, don't understand that if we can't see ourselves on the other side of it. Because many of us get encompassed in the going through. We allow ourselves to get taken in by the going through, as opposed to saying there is a other side to it. There's a side to it that once I'm through it, then I'm stronger because I'm made stronger because of it, because it was something that I didn't have to endure prior to it.
Yeah.
So I have something that I now know. My mind now knows I can get through something like this.
Wow.
It makes you tougher.
Wow. No, wow. It's so true, because you don't know your own strength. And I have a quote that I coined. Life gives us muscle and God gives us strength, right? So we have, thank you. I got t-shirts, but but it's so true, because life gives us these muscles and we're like, yeah, we're doing it. But to even deal with that adversity, God gives us that strength that we never even thought that we could have, Sometimes you think that you faced adversity, or that until it ante ups a little bit. Like, wow, I thought I really faced adversity here, but I never thought that this kind. And when I look back, and it's always like how you handle it and how you see it. And do you see it as adversity? Do you see it as a stepping stool to growth? Do you see it as growing through something? And sometimes it just seems like life, right?
Yeah.
It's like, okay, is it adversity, or is this just some of the things you go through with life? So I think sometimes it's like how you describe it and how you really look at something as well. And my listeners know, so typically when I do my podcast, I like to give statistics and I like to go to sources to see what they say about adversity. And since I have Leroy Mckenzie Jr. on here, I went to Forbes magazine because he's a businessman, right?
No. Get it right. Jay-Z said, I'm a
businessman. Right. right. And Leroy talked about, I'm a businessman. Like, come on, man. Like, you don't know? I am the business, right? But and I was looking, I was like, what does Forbes, because you talked about going through adversity, you know, in your personal life and your private life and in your, you know, your business world, we all go through adversity. We all have something that we have to kind of navigate through. And like your mom said, you finished with the through, or you got through the through on the other side of the through. And I think that that's so important. And I always tell people to remember the toughest thing that you've gone through. Just remember it, y'all. And think about at that moment how you thought you weren't even going to make it through. You didn't even know that you had the strength. You had the resiliency to really make it through. You didn't believe God no more because that was the 17th time that God had took you to this point, and you were fed up and you thought that you wouldn't make it through. Think about that time. And now think about you right now. You know, it doesn't seem so bad when you are on the other side of through, like your mom said. But when you're going through it, you forget all the times that you just stumbled on and jumped over the hurdle of adversity, right? So Forbes magazine, I love to look on the positive side of things to see. And they have 11 ways to turn adversity into opportunity.
Okay.
So let's start with number 1. And this can apply. This is, even though it's Forbes, this is for business and personal. Whatever you're going through and whatever adversity or trial or tribulation you have to face, you can use this. So let's see. This is Forbes.com. Number 1, they have embrace it. And I, so this is how I do it, Leroy. I say what they say. I read a little bit of that, and then I go on and spin it, and we can have this conversation about it. But embrace it. So pretty much they're saying it's happening. You can't do nothing about it at the moment. So you might as well face the reality of it and embrace it. So they say the first and best way to begin fighting through any life ambush is to embrace your current reality as opposed to denying it or retreating it to the confines of your comfort zone. That's powerful.
Yeah.
That's
because
powerful.
A lot of folks want to either ignore it, and I don't like having to keep, harping on this, but you could have easily folded like a lawn chair when you got that diagnosis.
Yeah.
You could have just said, "Oh, my life is over," and this, that, and the other, and allowed it to take you over. So that's what they're talking about. You embraced it and said, "You know what? Yeah, it is what it is. Okay, now let me deal with it." And my oldest,
you're helping me
sister,
by saying this stuff, because I didn't even think about it. And it's like when you talk about it, because you know what I was going through, and when you say stuff, it's like, dang, I did. Like, because it all happened so fast, I hadn't had time to really, I had a surgery, found out a week and a half later, I was in a surgery removing the cancer, and they were reattached, cutting out my cancerous part and reattaching the coat. Like, it all happened so fast. So when you say stuff to me, or when you say that, it just makes me think like, dang, wow.
Yeah.
Oof.
Yeah.
Thank
I
you,
mean,
God.
and even my oldest sister, she had what's called multiple myeloma, which is a bone cancer, right? Mm-hmm. Now, that multiple myeloma only has a 5-year expectancy rate.
My God.
She was diagnosed back in 1995. She just passed away last year.
I'm sorry, Leroy. I don't think I knew that.
Yeah, but
I'm sorry.
Her mindset was, this cancer is not going to beat me.
You didn't share that. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I know. I told you. Yeah. This is my oldest sister.
I'm sorry.
With my my father.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
But she had multiple myeloma, and it went away for a time. But what happens with that particular cancer, it goes and then it may come back. And the last several months, 6 months, a year, it had come back, I guess, some kind of way or whatever. And she was battling it because she had been back and forth in the hospital. And so, but she fought that thing that, when I tell you, kid, she fought that cancer tooth and nail.
I love it.
Until she passed away.
Wow. And from 1995 to 2021, she was fighting. She was fighting. She was a fighter. My God.
And I remember telling her, because we were putting her book together. And, I'm like, sis, this is you. I was blown away. I'm like, sis, you went through all of this?
Oh, when you were reading her book? Wow.
And you still here?
Wow.
I'm like, come on now. I mean, so her mindset, and that's what that first thing that fools her, it's the acceptance of it. She knew what she was dealing with. She didn't say, I don't accept that I have it. I'm not going to, because you know how some folks get, especially those in the church. Well, I don't claim that. I don't claim to have it.
Woo! You speaking now. Listen, you speaking to. Listen, did y'all? Let me just pause. Let me just. Let me meditate. That drives me crazy, and you and I both love the Lord, but that drives me crazy. It's like God is going to, even if God heals you and delivers you, you still have to acknowledge that thing. And a lot of Christians don't. You're right. They'd be like, I ain't claiming that. It's like, look, boo boo, it's there. You gotta claim it. You might not have it forever, but because your faith and you're in the prayers of the righteous, but you still gotta call a thing, like Iyanla says. You still gotta acknowledge it.
Right. You just do. And that's what I
think.
Them
saints don't do that, though.
Yeah, that what Paul was just talking about there is the acceptance. It doesn't mean that you believe that it's going to beat you or that you
right. That's
whatever.
right.
It just means that you accept it.
That's right.
And hey, that you acknowledge that.
That's right.
This is real.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if we want to go there with COVID. But there's some folks that just want to say, well, I don't, there's no COVID out here. There's the Omicron and this, that, and the other. And they wind up going out here and getting it. No, the facts are
right.
There's over 800,000 people that have died.
Come on now, almost 1 million people. Right.
Pandemic, I'm sorry.
But people are still, come on, people are still saying that it's a farce. Like, come on. Madam and Mister, there is COVID running in these streets and people are catching it and people are dying. Tell people who have lost a loved one in 2020 and 2021 that there's no COVID.
Exactly.
Come on now.
Try and tell, tell me, my brother is home now, who was in the hospital on a respirator because of COVID, because he had COVID. So people can say what they want. You have to acknowledge things.
Yeah.
You have to say that, yes, this is real.
Yep. Yep. And number two, and it's real. And I love this list because, and I love that they have that first, is you got to acknowledge it first. And then second, number two, they have practice self-compassion. We all experience difficult times, they say, at some point in our lives, but we often fail to show empathy for ourselves. Woo! Yeah. As a coach and as a when we are in distress, we often don't show empathy to ourselves. If you want to overcome adversity faster, they say, once you've embraced it, as we talked about, the next thing to do is to be more self-compassionate. And I love that. And we're going to talk about that, and I'm going to go to 3 as well so we can get through the list. But so many people, when they're going through things, they blame themselves. They shoulda, woulda, couldas. They beat themselves up. If only if I'd done this, or maybe if this, and they're so hard on themselves. But you can show compassion to everyone else. You got to start with you first. And number 3, they have master your emotions. So I want to talk about that because I just did a video and put it up on YouTube, and it's on my Instagram page about emotions and feelings and how sometimes my emotions and my feelings have guided me in the wrong direction. So I can personally relate to master your emotions. Number 3, it says emotional intelligence, which is huge, is critical for maintaining self-discipline. If you don't master your emotions will master you. Lord have mercy. You want to speak on that?
Well, I mean, I think that's it. That's very true, because when you don't practice emotional intelligence, and when you don't practice being in control, then what happens is when situations come along, that that your emotions will come out, because the body is going to be emotional. It will. It's going to be one way or the other. Those emotions are going to come out no matter what, you know. But if you have control of them, then you understand and know how to navigate through it. I'll give you an example, personal example. When I came back from when my grandmother passed, my mom's mom, and we had to go up to Detroit to see her. I mean, go up for the funeral and everything. And so we come back, and I'm actually talking with my dad one day, right? And I'm telling him, like, Dad, because we had I lost my grandmother, and I think my uncle, which was his brother, had passed at the time. So he and I having this conversation, and so I'm telling him, I'm like, Dad, you know, I just come to understand this thing, to be at peace about having to pass on. And so I'm like, I said, because I come to realize that we have to accept one or two things. I said, we're either going to be in the casket. I said, we're going to be on the front row. That's a reality of life.
That's deep.
That's a reality of our life.
That's deep.
I said, I'm a boo-hoo. I said, when you, Mom, I said, when y'all pass on, I said, I'm a boo-hoo, I'm a cry, and all of those things. I said, but I have an understanding of what that is. And no lie, when my dad passed back in 2012, the day he passed on June 1st, I had an event, a speaking engagement in Philadelphia the next day. I had to literally, I had to get on the train, go up to Philadelphia, and conduct a workshop.
Wow.
Right? And I was like, I had thought, well, should I call these people and tell them I can't come, this, that, and the other? And I was like, no. I said, my father would not have accepted that, because that's just the man he was. He's like, you need to go do what you need to do.
That reminds me of Patti LaBelle. She said when her sister died, she had to do the video, If You Ask Me To, the very next day. And the tears in that video were real. Wow, that's deep.
Yeah, so it was like, so I know what he would have wanted me to do. He's like, boy, you better go ahead and handle your business, So my sisters and them, my dad was passed and they were handling things that needed to be handled. So I was like, okay, I can go, I'll go take care of, take care of what I need to take care of, do the presentation and everything. And without a hitch, going up, doing the presentation. But if I didn't have control of my emotions, if I had not had the conversation with my father and understood the roller coaster that we go on and grieving and everything like that, I'd have been in a million pieces.
You would a million pieces. The day I found out I had cancer, I did your interview with you and you didn't even know.
Exactly.
That's deep.
Exactly.
That's deep.
You were like, no, let's do it.
That's deep.
I'm not going to, and when you have control over your emotions like that, then you can push through.
Yeah.
You can get through.
Yeah.
Now you're going to have, I ain't going to lie, after that, and all during the weekend, and stuff like that, with dealing with my father's, passing and everything like that, I did exactly what I told him I would do.
Yeah.
I boo-hooed, cried, laughed.
That's deep that
cried.
you had that conversation with him. That's deep in itself.
Yeah, all of those things. So I understood how to navigate the emotions.
Wow. And it says here, being self-aware and naming your emotions are impactful ways to give your feelings less power as well. Absolutely. Mastering those emotions. That's wow. And it sounds like you mastered your emotions. Yeah.
And it really is. And like I said, it was just me having the understanding of what I was going through, and even with the topic that we talked about earlier, dealing with the racist district manager and everything like that. A lot of folks, they would have lost it. they'd have beat the out
yeah,
of
they would have. Yeah. But that's so.
But
you're so true.
I'm a strategic person. I'm not going to give you that kind of power. You know what I'm saying?
That's deep, because it's hard. It's not always easy to master your emotions when your emotions are involved. So I think that's powerful. Right.
Especially
like, wow. So with women, we're known, or people think, oh, well, women can't master their emotions. They're just emotional. But what I have come to see over the span of my life is I have come across a lot of men who are extremely emotional or in touch with their emotions. So I don't buy into what people say men don't have emotions. I think they just know how to master them better. In some cases, because there's some women though, some women are cold though. They know how. Yes.
So we can mask it. I think we suppress it so that we mask it.
Yes. I can agree with that.
Not that we are not supposed to be.
You're supposed to man up and not cry, not show this.
Man up.
Right.
But stop that crime.
There's some women, and another myth is that women do. It's a lot of women that don't show feelings or emotions.
Yeah.
They some cold pieces. They don't know how to do it, or they have been told not to do it.
Let me ask you something as a life coach, because I hear people, and I don't know how much you're on Clubhouse and that you listen to YouTube and everything like that, with these conversations that people want to have about relationships. What you just said about a woman not showing emotion and everything like that, would you call that, or would you consider that a masculine trait?
No. Because I think it's just an individual. Because like a men can be emotional, and that's fine. Right. And women can be cold, and that's fine. When I say fine, meaning if that's how you're organically built. I don't like that masculine trait or feminine trait because a man is crying. I don't think it's a feminine trait. I just think it's a human trait based on your experiences and how you respond.
Exactly. Exactly. But folks kill me with that. These masculine and feminine traits.
No. You got to invite me to that next Clubhouse so I can join in that conversation. That's a whole.
I know, right?
That's
These
a
folks,
whole
man.
thing.
It's sad. Sad to hear. Listen to these conversations. The people are so lost.
Yeah.
They're so miseducated.
Yeah.
On manhood and womanhood.
Yeah, because we're human beings, and we're the same. It's just who has permission to do what. That's really is the permission to be free enough to be exactly who you are, man or woman. Right. Maybe we'll definitely have to do a show about that for sure. Let's see, looking at the time. Okay, so 11 ways to turn adversity into opportunity. That's what we're talking about. My guest today is Leroy Mckenzie Jr., Dr. Leroy Mckenzie Jr. We're going to take a quick break and be right back. Thank you for shining with me, Kendall Denise. If you're here for the very first time, thank you for tuning in. Please subscribe to the show, and don't forget to tell your friends and family about Shine. We'll be right back. All right, we are back talking to Dr. Leroy Mckenzie Jr. about growing through adversity. Right now I'm reading Forbes' list, 11 ways to turn adversity into opportunity. We are on number 4, which I love. Make humor your ally. Laughing in the face of adversity can be a powerful tool for reframing, and as coaches, that's what we do often, reframe the story, tell it in a different way, in a positive way. So reframing the narrative of your situation. Granted, this may not be an option depending on the gravity of the situation. However, we don't want to discredit your pain, but find something in there that you can think about that maybe you can laugh at. Now, if it's something deep, like, death, then you may not be. Or you might say, you know what? such and such the past, he was a wild boy, like Martin said, he was a wild boy, or find something in that way to kind of break it up. Remember, Martin used to be like, he's a wild boy. But number 5, engage in wellness activities. I like that. Mental and physical wellness activities such as meditation, which I love, exercise and clean eating aid, reducing stress and clearing your mind. With a clear mind, we can make better decisions based on less negative emotions and a rational thought. So when you're engaging in wellness activities, your mind is at peace and you're able to have rational thoughts. And let's go. 6 and 7. 6 is purge the clutter. We know what that is. Number 7 is be grateful. Life threw you a curveball. Good, it says. Use it as an opportunity to grow and gain new perspective. Showing gratitude, which I love, you know that, Leroy, for your struggles, diffuses their impact and transforms their mind. What do you think about being grateful, even in adversity? How can one be grateful, Leroy, even in adversity?
Well, I think the understanding that the as we talked about earlier, the adversity is made or created to build us and make us stronger. That understanding that us going through something, what we gain from it is we learn more about ourselves. We learn the strength that we do have that we might not have thought that we had. So just being grateful for the lesson in the adversity. Like you said, we might not see it when we're walking through it or going through it, because we've been so focused, or we're so focused on the adversity. And here's what I've been doing this week, Kendall. There's things that I want to accomplish, that I want to be, and I'm not, I'm like, how do I get to where it is that I need to get to this week, and the things that I want to do? My total focus this week has been on God. So what have I done? I'm like, because what came to me, my thought was like Peter walking on the water. Peter walked on water as long as he was focused on God. So I was focused on him. And the way that I did that was, there's a song by Lamar, I forget his last name, I think it's Campbell or something like that. But the name of the song is More Than Anything. And it's a worship song. It's a worship song.
I think I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, you've probably heard it. But the song just goes, you're giving total adoration, you're giving total appreciation to God for who he is. And you just want to let him know that I love you more than anything. So I've been concentrating on just telling God, I love you more than anything this week. My focus has been on him, because as long as I'm focused on him, the adversity doesn't matter. Because I'm not trying to get spiritual in here, but the Bible tells us when Peter was walking on the water that the winds and the waves were blowing. Woo-wee. But he didn't hear any of that until what? He took his eyes off of Jesus. That's when he began to sink.
Come on, Mr. Dr. Pastor.
When we focus on when we have a focus outside of the adversity, and we focus on the other side of through, like we talked about, a focus on God and how he's getting us through, how he's going to get us through, we begin to be able to walk on water. Or I'm going to give you another one. I know we're not supposed to be talking about God in this, but I'm sorry. But we become like the Israelites that walked through the Red Sea, on the bottom of the Red Sea, and the water was on the side.
Ooh, you talking about walking through adversity.
Yeah, that's how you walk through adversity.
You had the water on the side. The water is on the side. It's in your mind. On the side of you, and you're walking through. Come on.
That's all I'm saying.
Come on. Come on. I mean, Lord, I'm trying to find some tambourine music. I can't find it right now. I'm trying. I should have had the tambourine locked and loaded. The sound. Doom, 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 doom. I got that for you. But you ain't, that's a whole word, y'all. If y'all ain't listening to this podcast, and if you just tuning in right now, go back and listen to the full. If you're listening live, pause on that for a moment. Because what Leroy just did, the analogy and what you just said, my brother, focus on God and less on adversity, and think about some of the stories and some of the, oh my goodness, that right there. I'm going to have to run this after this is over. I'm going to have to run it back. I'm going to have to do a sound bite. So number 8 on the Forbes list, turning adversity into opportunity, is develop a growth mindset. I know you like that, Leroy.
Yeah,
people who are able to overcome challenges with the grace possesses a growth mindset. They choose the mindset of a champion. I know you love this. They don't believe that their intelligence is fixed. Instead, they embrace challenges, persist in the face of setbacks, see effort as the path to mastery, and learn from feedback. Adversity of any kind can be difficult to overcome. Nobody wants to experience hardships in life. However, if you never experience pain, you will never understand peace. Lord, you better Forbes come. Absolutely. You better come through.
Forbes just dropped the mic right there.
They dropped the mic, and you know how I feel about peace.
Say that one more time.
Right. You know how I feel about peace. All right, I'm going to break this thing down again. Develop a growth mindset. People who are able to overcome challenges with grace possesses a growth mindset. They choose the mindset of a champion. They don't believe that their intelligence is fixed. Instead, they embrace challenges, persist in the face of setbacks, see effort as the path to mastery, and learn from feedback. Now, here's where it gets real good. Adversity of any kind is very difficult to overcome. Nobody wants to experience hardships in life. However, if you never experience pain, you never understand peace. You better come through, Forbes. I could have wrote this for y'all. I love it. This is like everything I would have said. This is good. 9 is to cling to your purpose or find a new one. Purpose and passion are necessary weapons for the battlefield of life. They further fuel the necessary emotion connection to goals and desired outcomes. Sometimes things happen beyond your control, and that can knock the wind right out of the sail. But if you're working towards something meaningful to you, you'll always find a way to forge ahead. What you got, Leroy? What you got with those 2 things? Lord have mercy.
No, I think that those are things. You got to send me that article.
I was already I need that article. Let me tell you, it was already locked and loaded for me to send you. I was like, in God, when I do,
I'm gonna need that one.
Let me tell you.
But it just really is, and I'll just sum it up like this: like how it started. Mindset is everything. Mindset mastery is the key to getting over any adversity.
It's deep.
Getting over any obstacles that you have to go through. And here's the thing: understanding that whichever way is that you're supposed to come through it, whether it's supposed to not work out or whether it is supposed to work out, your mind is okay with it because you have the emotional intelligence,
Lord,
to be able to deal with it.
Lord.
So
come on. And let me tell you, when I do my shows, God leads every podcast episode I do, and this one ain't no different. My God. And look how we decided to do this show, and look what God gave me, and now look what we're doing here. Somebody is going to be delivered with a T. Somebody is going to get through whatever they're going through. And I'm talking to you, audience. Whatever you are going through now, whatever you've been through, and whatever you will go through, because that's what life is. You are going to go through adversity more than 1, 2, 10 times. But it's how you see yourself in the face of adversity and what you do and who you believe in and who you know yourself to be. And you might not even be introduced to your real self until you go through adversity. Yeah. That's when you will know who you really are and whose you really are, is when you go through adversity. It's all cute and fun when you ain't going through nothing and life is just amazing and great and supercalifragilisticexpialidocious and everything is coming up roses. Yep. But when you go through some stuff, some ish in your life, that's who you're going to be. That's when you're going to be introduced to who you really are.
Yeah, and you have those battle scars.
Yeah.
You have those battle scars, and you learn as the farmers bank.
Oh,
we know a thing or two because we've been through a thing or two.
Come on. What I'm saying? And because this is the thing, what you think may break you may only just bend you. You may not break, and you'll see how bendable you are. You're not going to break even when you feel like you're going to break. Because if somebody told me that I would have cancer, I would think that I would just fall apart. Just hearing it. Or whatever the worst news you think you could possibly get. And you're going to get through it. You're going to grow through it, and you're going to get to the other side of whatever adversity is, and you're going to be here to share your testimony, and better yet, to really see how dope and amazing and strong and resilient you are. You know, as we wind down on this episode in this list, 11, the final thing on this list, 11 ways to turn adversity into opportunity, Forbes.com. And if you need this link, I'll put this in the body of the podcast episode. And Leroy, I'll definitely send it to you. Okay. But 11 is reflect and move on. Let me read this here. There is a massive difference between reflecting and dwelling. Forbes is showing out. Reflection is done with intent. It has purpose. When adversity strikes, do the following. Embrace your reality. Take stock in resources and threats. Apply any possible lessons learned. Amen. Previous lessons learned, experiences, etc. Develop a plan of action. And 5, commit to direction. 6, move forward in your conviction. You have to be able to reflect on what you've been through in order to get through whatever you're getting through. If you're not getting the lesson, y'all, if you're not understanding why you're going through adversity or making sense of adversity or trying to understand what you're going through or knowing that you can understand what you're going through, it's just about that reflection, guys. Just sitting there like, okay, what is my purpose? What am I getting out of this? How am I seeing myself different? You know, you got to ask these questions to yourself. You know, it's so important that you're able to do that. And this is not Forbes talking. This is Kendall talking. You know, you got to really be able to understand what's going on in your life and how you're handling it. Because the next time adversity comes your way and hits you in the face, if it hits you right in the middle of the forehead, you're not going to fall apart. You're going to be able to stand in whatever adversity and grow through it. Like, okay, I'm going through this. I'm growing through this. And like Leroy's mom said, you know, what did she say? Leroy, say that quote again. I want to make sure it's right.
It's about being on the other side of through.
On the other side of through. Meaning that when people say, even when I say growing through something, right? But even if somebody says going through something, you have to focus on the word through. You ain't getting stuck there. You actually going through, just like if you go through a tunnel. God, you know, you're not going to be in that tunnel forever unless you're in New York traffic, but that's a whole nother thing. But You might be stuck.
Sure.
You might be stuck in the through. But if you're going through something and going through a tunnel, think about it. Even if you're scared to go through a tunnel, a lot of people have phobias, right? Going through tunnels. But if you know that you're going to get through to the other side, you might be nervous a little bit going through the tunnel. You might be at the beginning of the tunnel like, oh, Lord Jesus, I don't want to go through this tunnel. I'm scared. What if I get stuck? All this anxiety. But you know, wherever you got to go in life and on that day, you're going to have to go through the tunnel. So you're going through the tunnel, whether you're praying all the way through the tunnel, whether, you pause a little bit, you put on the music, put on this podcast, whatever you do, you're going through it. But you know that the tunnel has an ending and you're going to go through that tunnel and then you're going to come out. And typically the tunnel is very dark. But then once you come out, there is a God. There's light at the end of that tunnel. Think about it. And that's what happens with adversity. Now, some people might be listening like, yeah, Kendall, Leroy, I go through adversity every week. Maybe the more adversity you go through, the bigger the plan that God has for you. And that's how you have to think about it. I'm going to take a quick break and we are going to wrap this up, Leroy. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Are you feeling stuck in a job or relationship? Are you ready to move to the next level? Are you at a crossroads in life? Are you trying to just figure out life and your goals and what you're trying to accomplish or achieve? Do you lack motivation? Are you unhappy with your life? Are you struggling with self-esteem? These are some of the things Kendall Lanise can help you with. She is a certified transformational life coach. For more information about her, visit livingtruelivingyou.com for her life coaching services. Now back to the show. Now y'all heard what Kendall Lanise said about Kendall Lanise, right? Hey, sometimes you got to do double duty. You got to do your own ads. What can I say? Let's keep it real. All right. So Leroy, this was a great show.
No, absolutely. I mean, this just, and I was thinking about when you asked me when we talking about adversity and come up, like, what are we going to talk about? I'm like, well, but you see how this conversation just flowed.
Man, every time we get together, it's going to be a flow.
Have these nuggets and then talk about those very things and obstacles that we know that people have gone through. That people are going through. Shoot, COVID in and of itself is an obstacle, is an adversity.
Come on, it's a life adversity.
Going through these, it's been phenomenal. It's been phenomenal.
Whew, man! Every time we get together and but this is what happens when you have honest conversations, right? That's what resonates with people, and when you're able to be vulnerable and really have a conversation. So many people have so many guards up and so many people are scared to reveal the adversities that they've gone through and some of the things that they've gone through. But that's how people can help you, and that's so important to me, to have a show like this where I do life coaching and that's why I call this, the show is called Shine with Kendall Lanise, but I call it a life podcast. Because that's what I'm about, really helping people get through things or grow through things or find the lesson in things and, heal. And that's what these conversations, do and what we really have to have. So I knew, Leroy, if you came on, we were going to do something. That's what I knew. We was going to do something, whatever that was. So I definitely wanted to talk about this to encourage someone out there. I want to end with another quote. And this is by Sean Anker. Don't know who the person is, but the most successful people see adversity not as a stumbling block, but as a stepping stone to greatness. And all of you out there listening, you are great. Your adversity is just a part of your story, and you have to be able to find the lesson in that blessing. It's a new word that I see going around called blessing. Not a blessing, but a blessing. BLESSON. That's the blessing and lesson combined. A blessing. Leroy, I thank you so much for joining me on Shine with Kendall and Niece, and thank you for shining with me. What quickly can you give someone a one-liner, something that they can hold with them and they remember if they're going through it, something that will help them, go through whatever they're going through at this time or growing through?
Never stop believing. Never stop trusting. And you know my line, be unstoppable.
Be unstoppable.
Be unstoppable. It's not just a hashtag, it's a mindset.
Yeah. And I love it. I love it. Thank you. So listeners, if you're hearing that, Leroy said it, be unstoppable. Never stop. Never stop. If you have to tell yourself that every day, every single day, affirm yourself in that. You are unstoppable. Be unstoppable. It's more than a hashtag. It's a mindset. You heard Leroy. Whew, Lord. Thank you so much, Leroy. Tell the people how they can get in contact with you if they need to just hear your voice, hear your wisdom.
Sure. If they want to connect, they can go to my website, www.jnfenterprises.com. I'm on social media platforms, Facebook, JNF Enterprises, or my name, Dr. Leroy Mckenzie Jr., Instagram, What's Up Baltimore Magazine, LinkedIn, JNF Enterprises, or my name, Leroy Mckenzie Jr., my YouTube channel, JNF Enterprises as well.
Come on now. And now with all of that stuff he just mentioned, the man could not have escaped adversity somehow. He talked about all of that. He's hit some walls, but he keeps going. And that's what I want everyone to do. He shared his story earlier about the adversity with racism and moving up in the ranks in his career and deciding to go out on his own. So he turned that adversity into an opportunity so you can clearly you recognized your greatness, and every one of you have greatness in you. You have to know it. If nobody told you you were great today, I'm telling you right now. Thank you everyone for tuning in to Shine with Kendall and Niece. If you are able to rate this podcast and leave a comment, if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, please do that. If you are listening on any other platform, and if you're able to subscribe to the podcast or leave a message, please do that. If you can't, you can always email me at kendallanice@gmail.com. Tell me some of the shows you want to hear. Thank you everybody for tuning in. Remember, you are a star.